Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be, and welcome to a very special broadcast today with Charles Simakumba of White Ribbon Project in Namibia. My name is Dipchand Ramcharitar, and I'm the Outreach and Development Coordinator at Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 and is based in London, Ontario, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to provide services to help support and overcome men and boys' life challenges. We are part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years, and so far 90 countries around the world joined together and doing various activities regularly. International Men's Day follows 6 pillars, which is the overall well-being of boys and men. We follow in the same footsteps. Before I introduce our special guest today, I would like to go through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. Like I said, today's speaker is Charles Simakumba. And let me introduce Charles. Thank you so much for joining us and willing to share this very special broadcast with us. Hello, Charles.
Hello, Dipchand. Good morning and good evening and good afternoon to wherever people are listening to us. And I'm Charles Simakumba, the co-founder of the White Ribbon Campaign Namibia. This is a project that is working with men and boys, Dipchand, in Namibia. We have been there since we are now almost 17 years since the inception of the White Ribbon Campaign Namibia. We work with men and boys on violence preventions, and we talk about manhood, and we talk about masculinity, and to bring men on board to lean on each other's shoulders with the issues that are concerning us men in the country. That's how the organization came to be into exception, because we have seen that men were having a lot of issues, a lot of problem, and there was no platforms where men they can bring all their issues that are affecting them. And so the White Ribbon Campaign Namibia it's a platform where men can come and vent their anger and talk about their problems, talk about issues affecting them in their day-to-day life. That's the reason why the White Ribbon Campaign Namibia was formed. Over to you, Dipchand.
Thank you very much, Charles, and appreciate that input. It's so good to have an organization like what you have there doing such good work, and I'm sure it's to the benefit of many of the people in your community. So thank you for that. Can you tell us what inspired you to get involved with this project?
Well, thank you so much for that question, Dipchand, and our listeners as well. I was inspired. What inspired me was the high rate of violence and crimes and committed by most of our men in this country. And I looked at, I visited some of the correctional services across the country, and I said, men were all over. Then we asked them about problems of killings and raping and all those kind of things. And sometimes some of them said, well, because there was no one caring about me, no one laughed about me. So I said, well, this is not, when I look at the prison, I say, this is not your home. You can still become a better man if you can come back to the society. And because of their seeing the number of men being reported in the country committing suicide committing society that was going on around the country, and this we are losing so many men in the country. And then I said, well, we need to have a platform which which can address these issues. And that's the reason why I came up with this men's group, that where we can help each other, where we can find a result for men, where they can lean on each other's shoulders. That's one thing that made me to have passionate about coming up with this organization or group of men and foundation. Over to you, Dipchand.
Well, this is in itself an inspiration to many, because to take such a humongous task on your shoulders, obviously you have help, but the idea of you coming up with being inspired by this and willing to lend a hand, reach out there to so many, is in
Yes,
itself an inspiration. So it's,
definitely.
absolutely. Now,
Mm.
what type of relationship did you have with your dad, and how would you say that helped shape the future of out of your childhood?
Well, thank you so much for that brilliant question. I had a good relationship with my daddy, and it's my daddy who mentored me and who shaped me to where I am right now. I know he was an alcoholic, but he always come and advise us to take serious about school. He was drinking, I know, but he'll come back home not beating us or not saying anything. Always we just encourage us to say, boys and girls, come and get your book and be a reader. I know I was a guy who was not staying at home at all times. I used to go for playing soccer, and when I come late, would say, "Did you read? Did you do your assignment or your homework?" So that to me, and I thought Daddy maybe is just talking too much, but the moment I came to complete my education, and I said, well, what Daddy was saying was a good thing, because he was not allowing me, because he know that, well, in the neighborhood where I lived, there were so many people, young guys like me, who were drinking, who were smoking. So he was always trying to be behind me. Yeah, he was a religious man. He always pray for us, his children, before we go outside. So what I may say is, like, Daddy was a good model, was a good dad to me, and I've learned a lot from him. Even today, I can still, even though now he passed away more than 6 years back. May he so rest in peace. So to me, he was my role model. There was no problem. I am where I am today because of him. He taught me to respect people before I can be respected. That's what Daddy said to me. He was my mentor. He was my role model. I am where I am today, Dipchand, because of my daddy. Over to you, Dipchand.
So, first of all, my condolences to you and your family on the passing of your dad.
Thank you.
And so, would you consider him like a good disciplinarian? Would you say that he did things that set you on the right path?
Definitely, he was a very strict father, disciplinarian, father who wants to make sure that always you only finds you reading a book or doing some assignment for school. He didn't want them to engage yourself into these things of soccer and all the stuff. He was more on education. And today I found that no. What my dad was saying is what I'm saying to my children today as well. So I'm passing over the message of my daddy to my children, to my siblings, to my cousin, to the people who are living on my shelters, right, under my shelter right now.
Okay, so would you say there was anything in particular you like when we're all like teenagers or even before that, we all tend to stray one way or the other. And that's why it's essential to have a dad in the home. It's very essential. Statistics worldwide would bear that out, that homes with fathers are far less likely to result in the kids growing up to be delinquent. So it's very important. So would you say there was anything in particular you were strained with and your dad pulled you back and said, Charles, hey, this is not the way to go. You need to take a different path.
Well, yes, like I said earlier, Dipcha, there's so many things that Daddy, was a person who was also too playful around, especially like in soccer. I liked soccer. Sometimes I can go the whole day, but Daddy will just make sure, direct me and say, look, you can play soccer, but don't forget your studies, don't forget see, I think that's one of the way the inspiration that I can say I get from my daddy, because I know sometimes I used to forget myself, forget about my school, forget about my homework. But dad will always remind us that it's, oh, guys, it's time for homework. Have you done your assignment? That's what I can remember about daddy. And also even worshiping the church as well. He was a religious since a man. So every time you have to be in the church, especially, you have to be there, to make sure that his children are worshiping, I see, and praying at all times. So that's what even today I am. I'm still a believer, and I have my beliefs, in the beliefs of my daddy. Yeah.
Okay, well, it is indeed something worthwhile, and something that we all should recognize and do, is aligning with the values, or family values, and
Oh,
values
yes,
that would set us on the right path. And so,
definitely.
like some for some of us who believe, in going to church and whatnot, and that's a discipline in itself.
Itself, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's something, people should recognize and respect for those of us who go to church or believe in a particular
Yes.
faith.
Faith.
So
Yeah.
what about, when you have siblings, you're always at each other's throat. You're always fighting with each other. So
Definitely.
did,
Yeah.
did he did he did he sort of step in and set you guys straight?
Well, I know there are times whereby you use a stick. I know I several times, I can't count, countless deep church. I use some sticks sometimes. I was also a naughty guy, a naughty boy. I remember, my sister told me, you were naughty. Sometimes I didn't want to bath, they have to chase me in order to put me on the shower, I was scared of water, but dad will make sure that, no, if he don't want, please come on, bring him here. When I see a stick, then I'll go and take my bath. Yeah, I think that was all I can still remember what daddy used to do to us. Like I said earlier, that he was my mentor and my role model. And one thing also, like, it taught me to respect our families, and to link also to his brothers and cousins and all the family members. He showed me everything. This is who, this is uncle, this is cousin. Yeah, he told me that this is how I'm living. So today I'm living to the expectations of my daddy, because he introduced me to his own family. That today I know I'm also doing the same. That, no, as a family we need to live in unity. Yeah. So when he passed away, I know who is his brothers, his sisters, his families today. So today now we live as one, because we know that, no, our father has introduced you, like you said, Dipchand, earlier, that, there are many hundreds of thousands of children who are growing without a father figure right now in this country. Yeah, worldwide at times, whereby these children lack father figure. There is no role model in their homes, and we have a generation that we have today that does not have fathers today. And what should we do with these children here? We need, to be examples today, because there's no way they can go. Yes, that's the reason why White Ribbon Campaign was formed. What we do is, I remember I used to go on the radio. Single mothers used to call me, Charles, what can I do? I have a boy here. I'm raising boys here. What should I do with the boys? I say, no, you can bring them to our organization. We have men, we have pastors, reverends, who can come and model our children. So the only thing that we want to emphasize is, like, on this platform is, we know that, no, fathers sometimes are nowhere to be found. Some have just left their wives or their children, disappeared. Maybe they're afraid of responsibility. But what I'm encouraging you, wherever you are as a father, please, if you have children, go back to those children and mentor them. Let them know that, well, you are the father, you are there. It's not about saying to provide, but to give them mentor, to coach them, to pat them, to say hi to them when they are coming from school. There are children who grow up without even being patted, being said by their father, well done, my child. So we grow up with that hatred because daddy was a monster at home. There are so many children I've come across who told me daddy was a monster. You see now. So these are the children we see today, that when they come into their adulthood, they be also behave like monsters, because they say, I just learned from my daddy. So today we are saying, let's fathers, wherever you are, uncles, let's be our role models to our children. Let's teach them respect and good morals, so they can become good citizens and productive young men in this country. Yeah, because we want to see men becoming better men. I'm worried, Dipchand, about what is going on around the country, worldwide, here in my country here, whereby men are taking their life every day on the daily basis because of issues which
Right.
we need to address these issues. Dipchand, over to
Okay.
you.
All right. So that leads me to the next question is,
Hmm.
what are some of the major problems facing young men in your community, and how best can those be addressed? Now, I know you started to address that in the question before, but can you continue in
Hmm.
that?
Well, yes. Well, there are so many challenges. Our young people, like we said earlier, again, it's like we need our fathers to be home. We need our fathers to be home to be the role models of these children, to mentor them and to coach them. Yeah, but most of our, like I said, most of our children do not have all these father figures in their homes so far. Yeah, so these are some of the challenges we can do. But I know that, as I've said earlier, and the other challenges the young people are facing is in employment. Sometimes, they say, well, there is no job for me to do, and they end up going into drinking because in my country here, what we call these beer halls or beer halls, they're in every corner of the country. Every household is a bottle store where people can just drink. You see, no recreations. And that's one of the major problems our young people are facing right now. Just 2 weeks ago, young people, they came to me, they say, we don't have a ground where we can play soccer, where we can do our activities. But every time we just go and just sneak at the bottle stores. So the challenge here, I think, is about more. There are no recreation for the young people where they can go there, talk about their issues, talk about their problems, do their activities, talk about the problems as young boys. If we can have all these in place, I think we are going to minimize this issue of violence and men find themselves. Most of our prisons are flooded by these young men and young men. I'm telling you, for just small crime because of lack of recreations in the country. If we can have all these, and I think our young people will be more able to vent their anger through sport, through any other activities. Or back to you, Dipchand.
Yes, I think that's something has been adopted in other countries as well. If you keep
Hmm.
young men off the streets, even if you engage them in sports, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of testosterone flowing in young men, and
Hmm.
they need to get that translated into something. Otherwise, the unfortunate thing is most of them would turn to a life of violence, of crime, and whatnot. So we need to rein
Yeah.
them in. We need to show them ways they can
Hmm.
motivate themselves and do
Hmm.
things towards better themselves and by extension the community in which they live, and even surrounding communities, and by extension
Hmm.
to that, to the country as well. So just briefly, how does addiction and homelessness affect them?
Well,
Are
addiction.
those concerns of yours?
Pardon? Repeat your question again,
Are those
Dipchand.
concerns of yours? Yes. Sorry. Are those
Yes.
concerns of yours, addictions and homelessness for young men?
Yes, these are some of the concerns that I'm worrying about, and that we are, as an organization, we are looking at these issues because these are not issues only just for the government, but it's also for us as organization to look at these issues, like the homelessness of our children. We need to bring them back and to say, what can we do? We need to come up with their a sort of a strategy on how we can bring them out of the streets. Yeah, because we have a lot of homeless children, boys, especially our young boys. And these children, when they grow up, these are the people you find in prison. These are people who are killing each other because there is no one to mentor them. There's no one to model them. There's no one to teach them. You see, all they just know about is about rough life of living in the streets, as homeless as they are. So as an organization, it's our responsibility to come and to start to bring these boys out of those platforms and to bring them into our organization, and we talk to them and say, because we have fathers, we have what we call religious men that we used to invite to come and talk to these young boys about saying about the dangers and the effects of being in the streets, because in the streets there, what they are getting there is drugs and alcohol and so many things. Yeah, so
Right.
by bringing them to the platform of the White Ribbon to discuss about the importance of life, regardless of your father, you still can make it. It was not your
Right.
fault. We tell them it wasn't your fault that your daddy left you or your daddy just left home. But you still can change. You still have a chance of 360 days. You can change. You can make a change out of that. And that's what we are doing in our platform with the White Ribbon campaign. Or about your deep charts.
Yeah, that's commendable. They absolutely need that guidance. They need to be reined in. They need to be shown some sort of direction with purpose
Yeah,
and meaning. So that's
definitely.
commendable that you are doing there. On that
Mm.
same point and on a more broader scale, what
Mm.
type of feedback, including challenges, is your organization getting from the public, government, places like that?
Well, there are so many challenges, even though we can say, well, the government has done its best. We have been getting support from the government previous, maybe 10 years back. From the community, we are receiving, the community is welcoming our program because they say we are doing what is supposed to be done because of this violence and homelessness, the children fighting, bullying and all, you can name them, So the community is welcoming us and they appreciate for what we are doing. They give us even sometimes to step into their community to talk about the issues of abuse and violence and crimes and all kind of things. When it comes to the government and other agencies, they are helping us, but on a small scale. Because like the agencies like United Nations and the government, they only just come for just a one-day program, which is not effective. So I emphasize that if the government or whoever wants to join or to come in, we need long-term programs, especially working with men. It should be a long-term thing, not just a week's program. You can't change a boy, you can't change a man in a week or in a day or in a one day. This is a long-term solution that need commitment from the government side and from the main side itself. So the challenge we find is lack of resources such as like money itself. I know money can't be the challenge to me because we are doing the work. Yeah, the government says we have our own priorities. Sometimes they don't look at the issues of abuse and violence and crimes and all the things are separate for them. Yeah, I think that's a challenge that we need to emphasize to most of our governments today, and other agencies. But I may say, well, the government has done its best because they are the one spearheading us. Yeah, they came up with a national plan of action that we are part of it. In Namibia here, we have what we call a national plan of action, whereby all the NGOs, non-governmental, including us, we are part of that. But the problem is there's no funding, there's no support. That's a challenge that we find. They make up policies, good policies, in fact, Dipchand, but there is nothing. They end up just being rotten in their to the bag. That's one thing that I've seen so far. Yeah, but with other agencies such as religious leaders, they are assisting us and they're helping us. Yeah, they are in the forefront of our organization. They truly support us. They are truly, even they say, well, if you need support, we can't support you financially, but we can give ourselves for talks to the young people. They do offer their services like counseling of young people, those who are in need. We are doing that in our organization. Over to you, Dipchand.
Well, I can understand governments, I guess, worldwide, some places more than others,
Yes,
obviously, where their
definitely.
hands are tied in terms of budgets. But then it comes down to a question of priorities. And,
Mm,
this is essential. I mean, young people in our society, it's
mm,
the future of the countries that
definitely.
world. So we
Mm,
need to emphasize and prioritize their well-being, and especially here in the West that
mm,
young men are left behind, and we think that there is much more to be done. People aren't aware, and one of the ways that can be, I guess, addressed to begin with is awareness and sharing the message through education that how discouraging the situation is as it is with young men. So we absolutely need to get government more involved, and in spite of budget constraints and whatnot. So that's
yeah,
something that
definitely.
we
Mm.
worked on.
Yeah, I think you raised.
So go ahead,
Dipchand?
Charles.
Yeah, you raised something awareness. I think is part of it because if you look at more awareness and the programs that education is more centered on the girl child and the women's programs. I think that's where also we need to drive back to
Same
inform our
here.
government. Yeah, to drive our government to be informed to say, look here, we are not saying, well, empowerment of women and the girl child is not needed. It is needed, but at the same time, we need also to liberate and educate the boy child. We need also awareness around the boy child, because if we empower only the girl child and the women and leaving the man and boy child behind, we are not solving anything. Yeah, so a boy child is lacking in it. He need to be empowered. He need to be raised awareness. We are not happy. Everyone is not happy to see our young boys go into do every research, go into every prison across the world. Here you find that no, there are more men and boys there. Why are they there? That's not their home. That's not their home. Yeah, I see.
Right.
People assume prison is their home for men. That's not our home. We need to bring those men back from back into society. Those are fathers. No wonder we're talking about where are the fathers? Fathers are behind bars right now. We need those fathers to be brought back. I'm telling you, we need those fathers to come back home, because the young boy home is missing that daddy. You get a point out there. They might have done horrible things, but they can still come back to society, because I know they are being rehabilitated back home again. So a boy child needs awareness. A boy child needs education. A boy child needs also mentor. Yeah, but if we leave the boy child just to see, no wonder you see a lot of things that are happening to our young boys today. And these are the boys who are when they come into their adulthood, deep child, they get married and they start abusing themselves and abusing their partners because of lack of awareness where they come from, lack of education where they come from, lack of mentor where they come from. They just grow up just like that without any father figure. No one was involved with them. Yeah, I think
Right.
awareness education is one of the paramount thing that we need to raise and to speak to our governments and across the globe.
Right. Those are very important issues that absolutely need to be addressed. And again, kudos to you for the work you're doing there. One thing I'd like
Thank
to
you.
echo
Mm.
that you said. There's a misconception that when you try to help boys, you're somehow um, uh, trying to bring down women and girls, but that's not what we're about, and I'm sure
No,
that's not
no,
what you're about.
no,
The idea
no,
is
no.
that we want to help men and boys, but not at the expense of girls and women. We appreciate and we encourage programs for women, for
Oh
girls,
yes.
but
Mm.
the point is men and boys are sadly lacking. So that's where our emphasis on. It has nothing to do with anything negative towards women and girls. So I
No,
just
no, no,
wanted
no, no.
to drive that point home. So
Definitely yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, but you're right. There's certainly a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of you know uh, programs and incentives and whatnot that I see that you driving towards that can certainly help. So that's what we need to emphasize. That's what we need
Definitely.
to focus on. So
Definitely.
before we close, I have one question else for you. But before I
Mm-hmm.
do that, I would
Mm.
just like to read out our group's disclaimer.
Okay.
There are no limitations to gender, age, nationality, and ethnic groups. All walk of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 226 289 8784. Email address info@voiceofmen360.org. Website www.voiceofmen360.org. You can also find us on pretty much all of the social media, Facebook group page. Join our group so you can see our daily activities. Please invite your friends as well. Our social media platforms rather involve Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We appreciate your support. So back to you, Charles. Now, is there anybody who's interested in your projects or what you're doing? How can they get a hold of you? What are your contact information?
Thank you, Dipchand, for your conclusion. For those of you who are listening to us worldwide, would like to join us and to hear more information about our work in Namibia here around men and boys, you can contact us on you can get us on our website, on our Twitter, on the Facebook, and there we are there, and we share with you our information. We do not have right now the website, but you can find us on Facebook, White Ribbon Campaign Arm, and Twitter, White Ribbon Campaign Arm, and we will share with you on what we are doing. And what I'm saying is let's work together as especially for those who are engaging men across the world. Let's all be partners. Let's work together. Let's reach out to our men and young boys. They need us. They need us to be there. And the other thing is, for the I may have a number here, but it's just a national number. If you just want to have a call, you can even, if we want more information about us, also you can just maybe also link with the Voice of Men 365. They'll be more able to share your our information with you. That's what I want to say. Dipchand, over to you.
Okay, well, this has been a very absorbing and meaningful session, and we certainly appreciate the input of Charles. We've learned a lot, and we can see the absolute drive that he possessed, the inspiration, the motivation, and everything he has with him, and what he's doing towards the betterment of men and boys in the community. And by extension, I always like to add that, when the community benefits, the nation benefits and the world benefits. So it's a sort of a domino effect. And so the absolute need to drive home the message, to inspire and motivate young men and boys, because it's sadly lacking in today's, as you mentioned, a big part of it, huge part, is fatherless homes. So thanks again, Charles. We really appreciate your input. It means a lot. And to all of those of you who listen out there, I hope that you can take this message with you. So again, thanks, Charles. We really, really want to say that in no uncertain ways. Thank you very much for this session.
Yeah, thank you, Dipchand, and also I would like to also to say thanks to the Voice of Men for hosting me on this show. Thank you so much. It had been a long, struggling time, but today we made it. Yeah, let's move on. This is just starting right now. We have a lot of program that we will be aired. Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me and for the support and commitment that you have shown in our organization, the White Ribbon Campaign, and myself as well. Goodbye. Have a
You're more than welcome, Charles. It's part of who we are. We're here to share and to give input and help as much as possible. So again, to all of those out there who have been listening, we hope that you enjoyed this broadcast, and we want to wish everybody, wherever you are, good morning, good night, good afternoon, good night. And this concludes our broadcast for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.